Spoiler alert, you are going to die. I know. It's as hard for me to break the news to you as it probably is to hear it, but somebody's got to tell you. I mean, sure, you probably have a will. You do have a will, right? But do you have a digital death file? Our lives have shifted almost entirely online. It's not just something to consider. Preparing your digital life for death is absolutely crucial for those you leave behind. Hey there, my name's Josh, and although I'm making light of this morbid subject, that doesn't mean I don't take it seriously. I really do. My wife and I have a will that dictates what happens to our houses, our finances, to our children should we keel over unexpectedly or be involved in some horrible accident. Knock on wood. But what happens to this YouTube channel? What about my Facebook page, my cryptocurrencies? That's where my digital death file comes in. But wait! Before you click away thinking that you don't have time for this or it doesn't apply to you, I promise I'll make this easy. We're going to break it down to a simple 3-part process where you identify your digital assets, store them securely, and then communicate all of this to your loved ones. And if you stick with me to the end, I'll even give you a downloadable checklist that you can use to make sure you've set up your digital death file correctly. All right. Step 1 in this process is to identify and organize your digital assets. This includes the big stuff like your email account, banking, social media accounts, and any crypto wallets. But it also includes the smaller stuff we tend to forget, such as cloud storage accounts, logins for your home utilities, your Amazon account, your PayPal account, and any other recurring billing accounts. If you're getting overwhelmed by all the accounts you have, don't panic. Just start by listing the most important accounts first. It could be a simple spreadsheet file or, and this is what I recommend, you could start using a password manager to store all of this. If you've never used a password manager before, I promise you it will simplify the process of identifying your digital assets, among many other things, and I've already created an easy tutorial to help you set it up right here. I use 1Password to store all my passwords, and they give me what they call an emergency kit. And that tells my wife and kids the sign-in address, the email address, the secret key, and the master password that I'll write in for my password vault. Most other password managers offer something very similar. It's the key to my digital front door. And that is important, but in some cases that's only half of what you might need. I talk a lot on this channel about two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication, which requires one of 3 types of additional authentication in order to access certain online accounts. This could take the form of a text message code, which are the least secure, authenticator apps, which are better, or physical 2FA keys, which is, in my opinion, the most secure. Whatever you use, and it could be all 3 for different accounts, you need to somehow store that in a way that your loved ones or the trustees can use. For texting, they'll just need access to your phone, which means you'll need to supply your phone's passcode in your digital death file. For authenticator apps, it really depends on what you use. With Google Authenticator, for example, you can export your 2FA codes as a QR code that you store in this file, and I show you how to do that in this video here. But really, the best thing you can do is to keep a file of all your 2FA backup codes. And if you haven't stored your backup codes, and I know there are many people out there who haven't done this, this is a good excuse to start doing so. Also, I like to put scans of the most important offline documents that my wife or kids might need. This could include a variety of documents, and what you store here will probably be different from what I do. But let me give you an example of what I put in this file. We have a digital version of our will, a scan of my social security card, copies of our life insurance, a scan of the deed to our houses, instructions for burial, etc., etc. A lot of this stuff is part of our will that's kept with our lawyers, but I like to have a digital backup that I can give to my loved ones here. Now, obviously, access to your password vault, 2FA backup codes, and digital copies of your most important documents are basically the keys to your entire kingdom, so it's critically important that we secure this well. The security measures you use, though, will depend heavily on your level of paranoia. I don't mean that in a derogatory way either. We're all different here. You could be comfortable putting all of this just on a simple USB drive and locking it away in a physical vault in your home. Or perhaps you put it in a safe deposit box at your bank. Or maybe you keep it on a secure hardware USB key like the one you see here. This is a part of my strategy, and I'll put a link to this particular device in the description below this video. Whatever strategy you choose, I recommend following these guidelines. First, it should be offline. Don't store this as a file on Dropbox or Google Drive. Heck, you can even print the whole thing off if you wanted to. Second, it needs to be accessible to your loved ones when you die. I know it sounds like common sense, but if you keep this file in your safe and then you don't give anyone the code to that safe, it's pretty pointless. You need to communicate access to this file, which we'll cover more in step 3. Finally, the more valuable this file is, meaning the more you have to lose if somebody is somehow able to steal it, the more you should consider distributing it. So maybe you keep the keys to your crypto wallets separate from the rest of your digital assets, or perhaps you keep the 2FA backup codes in a separate place from your password vault. Again, it all depends on your level of paranoia. The final piece to this digital death puzzle is to communicate the location and contents to your loved ones or trustees. Sit down with your spouse or even with your kids if they're old enough and walk them through this file and all its contents. If you need to write out instructions for how to use the documents that get filed away with your will and stored in a safe place, do that. And before I forget, yes, I'm aware of the fact that there are ways to set up what's known as a legacy contact for your Facebook and Google accounts. That's what allows another person to choose to memorialize your account upon your death. And most other digital platforms like Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and others will remove accounts if your loved ones provide proof of death. But why go through all that trouble? I mean, I'd much rather use this digital death file method to simply give them full access to my accounts to memorialize them, shut them down, or whatever else they need to do. No need for the headache of trying to prove my death to a social media platform that might take weeks to respond to them. All right, I know that's a lot, which is why I've created an easy checklist that you can download, print off if you like, and follow along. This is important stuff, so I highly encourage you to take the time to set this up. I've put the link to this checklist in the description, or you can just open a new tab right now and type in allthingssecured.com/death-download. The checklist will walk you through each of the 3 steps I've described here and give you a template for how this digital death file could look. If you have any questions or suggestions, leave them in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe to this channel now so that even if you die tomorrow, at least your legacy account is subscribed to All Things Secured. I'm kidding. That's mean. Don't do that. I mean, subscribe, just don't die.